Hi, do you have to give presentations in your job? Do you find it difficult to explain complicated data? Well, in this video, you will learn how to describe a graph or chart in 3 easy steps. So let's get started. I'm going to start by explaining the 3 steps and introducing some key phrases you can use. Then I will give you 2 examples of presenting a visual. The first step is to introduce the graph. This is where you tell the audience what the graph shows. For example, you could say, "This graph shows last year's sales results." "This pie chart represents the current market share." "This table lists the top 10 products in our sector." "The bar graph breaks down our costs by quarter." Let's practice saying these sentences, so please repeat after me. This graph shows last year's sales results. This pie chart represents the current market share. This table lists the top 10 products in our sector. The bar graph breaks down our costs by quarter. Great job! The second step is to describe the design. This is where you tell the audience the different parts of the visual so that they can easily understand. Look at this bar chart. To describe the design, you would say, the x-axis shows the months of the year, and the y-axis shows the amount in dollars. Instead of x and y, you can also say horizontal axis and vertical axis. So you could say, the horizontal axis shows the months of the year, and the vertical axis shows the amount in dollars. Why don't you practice saying these phrases? Repeat after me. The x-axis shows the months of the year. The horizontal axis shows the months of the year. The y-axis shows the amount in dollars. The vertical axis shows the amount in dollars. Let's look at another example, this time of a line graph. The vertical axis shows the number sold, and the horizontal axis shows the month of the year. The green line represents the QLP, and the blue line represents the Dyna 21. Let's practice saying these phrases. The green line represents product A. The blue line represents product B. Very good. Okay, you have now studied the first 2 steps for describing a graph. Are you ready for the third and final step? The third step is to explain the graph. This is where you talk about the information, data, and trends shown in the visual. You will learn and practice using many vocabulary words and phrases for this step in later lessons in this course. But let's quickly look at some of the ways to explain a graph. You can talk about upward movement like this. Sales increased from May to June. We saw a rise in sales from May to June. Sales reached a peak in August. You can talk about downward movement like this. Sales dropped in July. There was a decrease in sales from June to July. You can indicate no movement like this. Sales remained constant in September and October. There was stability in sales in September and October. And finally, you can indicate a change in direction like this. Sales leveled off in August. Sales fluctuated in the first half of the year. Okay, do you remember the 3 steps? What is the first step? That's right, introduce the graph. What about the second step? Describe the design. And finally, the third step? Right, explain the graph. Do you want to see a couple of examples using all 3 steps together? Okay, here is the first example. Hello everyone. This bar graph shows the sales of our product, the Dyna22 last year. The x-axis shows the months of the year, and the y-axis shows the amount in dollars. As you can see, sales rose steadily in the first half of the year and reached their peak in June. Then, they dropped off in July and leveled out in August. After rising sharply in September, they suffered a dramatic fall in October. They then made a significant recovery in November. However, they ended with a short downturn. Now let's look at a second example. Hi, can you see the screen okay? Well, this line graph compares the sales of the Dyna21 and our competitor's product, the QLP. The vertical axis shows the number sold, and the horizontal axis shows the month of the year. The blue line represents the Dyna21, and the green line represents the QLP. As you can see, the QLP was outperforming our Dyna21 at the beginning of the year. However, sales of the Dyna21 grew at a faster rate than the QLP, and the sales of the 2 products were the same in April. The Dyna21 continued to outperform the QLP in May and June and finished about 600 units higher. Okay, there you have 2 examples of how to use the 3-step plan for describing graphs. Do you think you can do it now? Thanks for watching and good luck presenting.